I spent many years thinking that I would feel that sense of enoughness once I was doing work that I loved, when I finally had the right business that was succeeding, when I was finally landing those dream clients. But look, here's the truth: the more I actually chased meaning in what I do, the more empty I felt. Look, if this hits home for you, you are not broken. You are just waking up. Because this first stage when I look back, and I'm sure you will have ways that you resonate with this, was seeking identity in what I had, in what I owned. For a while in my younger years, it was so important that I had brand named clothes, that I looked a certain way, that I aspired and finally purchased a certain type of car, that I made these type of external upgrades and subconsciously thinking that it would upgrade my interior life. And but the problem is the way that I was earning some of that money, whether it was in retail or sales or auto manufacturing, these things were so disconnected from what brought me joy. And in some instances, they actually made me miserable. I think it helped me realize that, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to take my attention from overvaluing the things that I have, the things that I own, and all these external upgrades. I need to look at how I'm spending my 40, 50 hours a week earning money for a living. Maybe that sense of worth, that sense of worthiness, that sense of meaning is going to come from changing what I do. It's not about more stuff. It's about doing work that makes me feel alive, right? And I think, yes, that's a beautiful thing when we start to get into this second stage of seeking identity in what we do, the work that we do. It's a really beautiful pivot to make, and it's something that I commend you for, because it takes so much courage to do that work, to tap into what is my purpose, what is my passion, what are my gifts that I can potentially be of service with and turn into a business. I think, or I can channel that into a career path for the work that I do or the role that I take on. I think it's really admirable because it does help that you feel better, you feel more ease, you feel more fluid when you are doing that work for the majority of your waking hours. That if when it's connected to your skills and your passions and you can tap into a sense of flow, I think this is really beautiful. But eventually, when it starts to define us, it somehow starts to also disconnect us. I have this really amazing client that I've worked with for a number of years and crushing it by every metric, but still haunted by this sense that it's not enough. The things that he has accomplished in business, in finances, in using his skills, in freeing himself, like every single level, that level of meaning and fulfillment and wholeness and worthiness, it still eludes him. Why? Because the work that we do, it's still just a mask. It's still, this identity is still just an image. It's just, that title is just another costume. All these wins, they're worth celebrating, of course, but because it takes so much energy, so much thought, so much effort to make these milestones, these things happen. Of course, they're worth celebrating. But don't seek your sense of self there. I think the wake up call here is realizing that we can do what we love, but it's not going to complete us. Especially when the fact that when if your business is not doing well, it starts tanking, so does your self-worth. It starts tanking too. When your results are up, you get addicted to the high and you keep trying to chase that high. You feel like a god. You feel like you can conquer the world. But when it goes down, oh, that sense of inadequacy is so collapsing, so soul shattering. And I think there's this question of like, if I stop doing what I do, will I even matter anymore? Will people forget who I am? Will it make a difference? I think it's one of those things that are incredibly it's heavy to meditate on and sit with. But if you keep moving forward, for me, I realized that even if my business in real estate was connected to my passion, and even my coaching practice, it's so connected to my purpose, seeking my sense of self in there, it was a trap. Like, it actually led to a dead end for me, because it's not about what we do. The third stage is realizing, who am I? Who are you without what you do? Without your business, your job, your title, how you perform. Who are you without the results? Who are you without the things that you deliver to your customers, to your clients? This is where it gets real. Who am I if I'm not producing, if I'm not helping, if I'm not on? One of my clients shared with me through our work together. She says, Oliver, what you helped me realize is the gift, the value is not what I do. It's in who I am. Who I am is the gift. And that might seem esoteric, that might seem a little bit elusive right now, but I want you to stick with me, because there's something so immensely profound about this idea of you are not what you do. You are not what you own. And even if what you do is connected to your purpose and your passion, it's still not where you're going to get your worth, your meaning, your fulfillment, your wholeness. The challenge here is learning to just be, learning to slow down. And that can be really, really scary, because being productive, always learning, always trying to improve ourselves, always trying to be better, and showing the world, hey, look, see, I'm trying to better myself. Look, I'm taking the action. I'm doing the things. Look how big my bookshelf is. Look how busy my schedule is. Here, look at my to-do list. Here are all the things that I know. Look at all the podcasts that I'm absorbing, inhaling every single day. But when you slow down, it can get really confronting, because you get in touch with the restlessness of just being with yourself. But if you stick with it long enough, you realize that that's what you need in order to feel more whole again. It's that sense of presence, to just be present, not to create results, but to be with life exactly as it is. To have moments where you've quieted enough that you are in union with God. And I think this is so important, that the thing that is lacking the most is a sense of peace. That's why I'm obsessed with ending the war within, because I think until we get that sense of peace, it's going to be so, so difficult to have any type of achievement really nourish us or nurture us. Because this is not about doing more. This is really about learning to come home to yourself. When the clients that I work with, one of the consistent pieces of feedback in terms of the value that they get from the program is this is the calmest, clearest, and most confident they've ever felt. And I think that's so beautiful, because their worth is no longer tied to outcomes, to performance, to results. But the crazy thing is, it actually elevates, that peace actually elevates the outcomes, elevates the results. It's so counterintuitive in some way. But look, I think it's so important that we realize that you're made in the image and likeness of God. Quit trying to seek your identity in external things, whether it's the things that you own or it's the things that you do. Remember that that's leading from a sense of calmness and clarity and that inner peace. Like, that is the thing that you've been after. And what's so beautiful is that it's actually your source. We've spent so much energy and time chasing peace, when really it's at the core of our being already. It's the source. That's where we come from. It's actually unshakable. So before we take off today, I invite you to remember that you are not the work that you do. You are not the things that you own. Who you are at your core, your essence, this part of you, that spark of aliveness your soul inside of you, that is the gift. Like who you are is a gift. And if this is something that you are wrestling with and you would love some outside support and outside feedback to help you untangle some of that mess inside so that you can reconnect with who you truly are and come home to yourself, feel free to use the link below to schedule a guidance session with me. If that's too deep for you right now, then maybe you might be interested in reading my book, The Daily Prosperity Method. It's available as a digital book and as an audio book. I'll make sure there's a link for it below as well. So thank you so much for being with me today. Until next time, be well.